Hello viewers, welcome to today's lesson. This is Form 3 Mathematics under Sequence and Series. Kindly subscribe to Educator Dan so that anytime we do a video like this, you'll automatically be notified. Let us go through the question together. The first term of an arithmetic progression AP is 2. The sum of the first 8 terms of the AP is 156. Then A, find the common difference of the AP. Roman 2, given that the sum of the first n terms of the AP is 416, find the value of n. So let us look at the solution to this question. And first, I want us to look at part A. We know under AP, we talk about the first term. Which is denoted by letter A. We also talk about the common difference, and the common difference is denoted by letter D. Then of course, we talk about the sum of any terms, and to get the sum of any terms of the AP, we say the formula is n over 2 into, we have 2a plus n minus 1, then into d. So we have been given the first term, which is a, and our a is 2. And we are supposed to find the sum of 8 terms, so our n is 8. So to get the sum of 8 terms will be equal to our n. We can substitute this into the formula. Our n is 8 over 2 into, we have 2a, meaning 2 times a, so it is 2 times the first term, which is 2, plus n. N is the number of terms, and in this case our n is 8. Then we minus 1. Everything multiplied by the common difference, which we don't have. And the sum of the 8 terms is going to give us 156. From there, 8 divided by 2 will give us 4, into 2 times 2 will give us 4, plus we have 8 minus 1 will give us 7, then 7 times d will give us 7d, and this one will give us 156. From there we can multiply 4 inside the brackets. We take 4 times 4, you get 16, plus if you take 4 times 7d, it will give us 28d, and this is equal to 156. From there, we collect the like terms. 16 goes to the other side, so that we remain with 28d. And 28d will be equal to 156. This is a plus. When it goes to the other side, we subtract. So our 28d is going to be equal to 140. That is 156 minus 16 is 140. For us to get d, we divide by 28 on both sides. This one and this one goes, and our d is going to be equal to, if you use the calculator, 140 you divide by 28, the answer is going to be 5. And this is the common difference from part 1, that is part A, Roman 1 of the question. Going to Roman 2 of the question. Given that the sum of any terms, given that the sum of the first n terms of the AP is 416, find the value of n. So we have the sum of any terms is 416, and we know this is a continuation of the first question, where we know our first term is going to be 2 and our common difference is going to be 5. So to get the sum of any terms will be equal to n over 2 into, that is 2a plus n minus 1. We multiply by d, and this one is going to give us 416. From here we know the value of n is not given, and that is what we are looking for. So we are going to have n over 2 into, this is 2 times a, and we know our a is 2, so 2 times 2 is going to be 4, plus we don't have the value of n, so we are going to maintain our n minus 1. Then we multiply by the common difference, which is 5, and this one will give us 416. From there, we are going to have n over 2 into, this is already 4, then 5 multiplies here. 5 times n will give us 5n. Then minus 1 times 5 will give us minus 5. And this is equal to 416. From there, we are going to get rid of this fraction, because this fraction is part of this bracket. So we decide to eliminate it. We are going to multiply by 2 on both sides so that this and this goes. So we are going to have n into, this is, we can begin with 5n. This is 4 minus 5, which is going to be minus 1. And this is going to be equal to 416 times 2. 416 times 2 is going to give us 832. So this must be equal to 832. From there we open the bracket. We are going to have n times 5n, which will give us 5n squared. Then n times minus 1 will give us minus n, and this one is going to be equal to 832. From there we move 832 to this other side. We are going to have 5n squared minus n minus 832, and this one is going to be equal to 0. And you realize this expression is quadratic in nature, and therefore we are going to use quadratic formula method to work it out. We are supposed to identify the value of a, and the value of a is 5. That is the coefficient of the quadratic term. Then the value of b is going to be equal to -1. Then our c is going to be equal to the constant, which is -832. So we know the quadratic formula. In this case, we are not going to use x, we are going to use n. N is equals to minus b plus or minus into b squared minus 4ac, everything divided by 2a. We know our b is negative, so minus will give us a plus. So n will be equal to 1 plus or minus into the square root of b squared, which is -1 squared, minus, this is, we have 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is -832, everything divided by 2 times a, and our a is 5. From here we know n will be equal to 1 plus or minus into the square root of, this is -1 squared is 1, then minus, this is 4 times 5, which is 20. We have 4 times 5 times minus 832, and this one is going to give us minus 16,640, everything divided by 10. So our n is going to be equal to 1 plus or minus, this is 1 minus 16,640, minus will give us a plus. That means we are going to have 1 plus 16,640, which is going to give us the square root of 16,641, everything divided by 10. So our n is going to be equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 1661, which is going to be 129, everything divided by 10. So from here, our n is going to be equal to 1 plus 129, which is 130, divided by 10, n will be 13. If you want to get the other value of n, would be equal to 1 minus 129, which is going to be minus 128 divided by 10, which is negative 12.9, that is 12.8. Since the number of terms cannot be negative, the value of n is going to be equal to 13, and that is the answer to Roman 2 of part A of the question. Going to part B of the question, the third, fifth, and eighth terms of another AP form the first three terms of the geometric progression. If the common difference of this AP is 3, find the first term of the GP and the sum of the first 9 terms of the GP to form significant figures. We know this is an AP again, but we are moving from AP to GP, but first we have to form the terms. And in this case, if we talk about the third term is going to be A plus, that is twice the common difference. Then we have the fifth, which is going to be equal to A plus 4 times the common difference. Then of course the eighth, which is going to be equal to A plus 7 times the common difference. These terms, that is the third term, which is A plus 2D. Then we have A plus 4D. Then A plus 7D. They form the first three terms of the geometric progression. So this is our GP and this is our AP here. Next, if the common difference of the AP is 3, meaning here the common difference is 3, so we can replace it here later. So we are supposed to find the first term of the GP. For us to find the first term, it means we need the value of A. Anyway, now normally when we move from an AP to GP, we are supposed to get the common difference first of the GP, and to get the common difference, the common ratio, that is, in a GP we talk about the common ratio and not the common difference. The common difference is on AP. So when we move to GP, we are supposed to get the common ratio, and for us to get the common ratio, we are going to take the third term over the second, or the second over the first. That is, we are going to have A plus 7D. We divide by A plus 4D, and this must be equal to A plus 4D divided by A plus 2D. From here we can cross multiply, that is, this one multiplies with this one and this one multiplies with this one. So we are going to have A plus 4D times, we have A plus 4D, which would be equal to, this is A plus 7D into, we have A plus 2D. If we open the brackets, we are going to use A first. So A times A will give us A squared. Then the same A times 4D will give us 4AD. Then now we come to 4D. 4D times A will give us 4AD. Then 4D times 4D will give us 16D squared. And this must give us, this other side also, A times A will give us A squared. Then A times 2D will give us 2AD. Then we come to 7D times A will give us 7AD. And then 7D times 2D will give us 14D squared. From here, we know A and A will go. Even if we bring it to this other side, it will be a 0. Then we collect the like terms here. 4AD plus 4AD will give us 8AD plus 16D squared, and this must give us 2AD plus 7AD will give us 9AD plus 14D squared. From here, like terms together, 8AD will go to this other side. So we are going to have 16D squared. We bring 14, it becomes a minus 14D squared. And this will give us 9AD minus 8AD. So 16D squared minus 14D squared will give us 2D squared. And this will give us 9AD minus 8AD will give us AD. From here, we can divide by D first on both sides such that D and D goes, and this one is going to be equal to A, and A is equals to D goes to itself once, then it goes to D squared. This one goes, it goes out here D times. So 2 times D will give us 2D. But we know our common difference from the question. Our common difference of this AP was given as 3. So if our common difference is 3, it means our A is going to be 2 times D, which is 3, and therefore our A is going to be equal to 6, and that is the first term of this GP. 1, 2, the sum of the first 9 terms of the GP. Before we get the sum, we must get the common ratio. And to get the common ratio, we are going to take either this expression here or this one here. So we are going to take our A, which is 6, plus we have 7D, which is 7 times the value of D, and the D is 3. So 7 times 3 will give us 20. That is 3 times D, which is 21, divide by the value of A is 6, plus we have 4 times D, and our D is 3, that will give us 12. This is equal to 21 plus 6 will give us 27, divided by 18, and when you divide it, this one will give you 1.5. So once we have the common ratio, we will be able to get the sum of 9 terms, that is the sum of 9 terms. To get the sum in the GP, it is going to be dependent on the common ratio, and since the common ratio is greater than 1, so to get the sum, it's going to be equal to A into N, that is into R power N minus 1, everything divided by R minus 1. From here we know that our first term is going to be 6, our common ratio is 1.5, and our N, since we need the sum of the first 9 terms, our N is going to be 9. So the sum of 9 terms is going to be equal to, we have our first term, which is 6, into R, which is 1.5, power 9, everything we minus 1, then we divide by R, which is 1.5 minus 1. From here, this is 39, then we minus 1, it's going to give us 6 into 38.44, then 1.5 minus 1 will give us 0.5, and when you multiply this by 6, you divide by 0.5, it is going to give us a sum equal to 449.3, and that is the answer.